Out of the 8 billion podcasts that claim to talk about sports, 99% of them talk football and basketball. And that's about it. That's because they don't know about anything else. And they bore you to tears. Welcome to the Sportsocracy, the Ocho, where sports meets comedy, sports analysis, laughs, and the occasional debate that'll likely blow the roof off. We're rowdy and loud and bringing the party straight to your ears.
The party has arrived.
And by the way, you don't have to be a sports fan to like this show, because we're pretty damned awesome, even when we're not talking sports. From baseball to hockey to wrestling to the UFC and beyond, we love it, and we're talking about it. And now your hosts, Armchair, hailing from Canada. He's a sports encyclopedia. And Dubs, the quintessential masshole who's always down for some lively banter and a little bit of the green stuff. And we're not talking about the outfield grass. Let's rock this. This is the Sportsocracy, the Ocho.
Gentlemen, what is happening? It is, of course, Armchair. We got Dubs, and we got a stranger in the house. I've never seen this guy before.
What it do, baby boo?
Jeremy Green in the house. I apologize to our Twitter audience. We upgraded. We got some things happening, and because of that, my premium, which you need to go live on the X, unfortunately, is now in review mode again for another 3 days. So, whatever.
For an entity that Elon Musk said he was buying to keep government oversight from happening. Damn, they have a lot of that.
Yeah, you change your profile picture. 5 days is the waiting period. We changed our profile picture. We'll get to that. Dubs was on vacation, and he didn't know anything that was going to happen. I got one thing that I got to say to you first. Patrick Laine is a hab. Kent Hughes absolutely fleeced the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that's what we're going to start with here. And then we got a little bit of stuff to get into because Jeremy is not here for nothing. And as much as I want him to say hockey players' names, we got real business to get to. Kent Hughes, by the way.
Texas Ranger or Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
Riveting game.
Yeah, absolutely. Kent Hughes, GM of the Montreal Canadiens, is you remember when Bob Kraft traded for Randy Moss and he gave him like a seventh and he was like, here you go. You can have this reclamation project. That's what this is. This guy is a 40-goal scorer who is now was a Columbus Blue Jacket, and he got him and a draft pick for nothing. It is a fleece job of all fleece jobs. So happy to have him on. But that's not what we're here for. You may have seen the rumblings. You may have heard Jeremy talking on the main show. We had some changes. We've made some adjustments to the program. And we are now going to be the Great North. And along with the Great North, I don't have applause buttons.
Come on, Armchair. We need to get the soundboard in here.
Soundboard's on its way. Listen, we're slowly getting there. We're the Great North, and Jeremy, with the Great North means that we got to start talking about football.
Well, you guys do phenomenal things. And after much discussion with Tank and myself, we felt like having you two guys doing what you're doing. You said on the main show, I gristle at those things. We've just been doing it longer. It doesn't make us, better or bigger or any of those things. You guys are doing really, really good stuff with the tour that we're going on this year. I'm leaving for Atlanta day after tomorrow. It was supposed to be right now, but, calendars, people struggle with that. I had 3 meetings scheduled for this afternoon. One of them I totally understand because Chris Womack, he got sent to Charlotte. So we can't record a segment for television if he's not there. The other two apparently don't understand they can't be in two places at the same time. So, thankfully, that meant that I could be here. We could talk about this. We're very excited about it. You guys are going to be doing Northern sports. You both sound more Northern sports than I do. And I think with the talent that you two have and the ability to do things that you two have, what we ultimately envision is a full rebrand, not rebrand, but a full, we'll say, graphic change where we all get our own individual colors of the same logo, and then we meet for big events like the NFL Combine and the draft and things like that. We have a couple more of these that we will open those up in the next probably 2 weeks. You guys will be doing the North. We obviously do the South. We do everything, but that's because with the ESPN show, we kind of have to.
Always, yeah.
Hank and we will really narrow down on the things that we want to do. So when it comes to mock drafts and things like that, I can still put out the mock draft, but instead of me pretending I know as much about the New England Patriots as you guys do, you guys are the aficionados on that. So I can come in and defend my dumbass picks, and you can tell me how dumb I am because there's some third string defensive tackle that I haven't seen since he left Harvard 4 years ago. And
Rutgers for sure. Actually, no, Bill's gone. Never mind.
Yeah, with Bill gone, the Rutgers pipeline, that's now you're dead. Now it's like shared custody between the Giants, the Jets, and the Patriots.
Yeah.
All places Bill was at one time.
To sell off the monopoly.
But we're very excited about it. Dave and I have been talking about this off and on for what feels like 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. There's been things in motion, and we say the main show. We always consider you guys family. We're your big brother and an old tanker there, and we appreciate the opportunity to kind of just further the brand and work here, doing this kind of content. And I mean, Dubs and I always look, we are baseball and hockey fans for sure. Once hockey season is rolling, we will still be delivering you the NHL content, still do our power rankings, but this also gives us a chance to talk. I mean, I have no problem shitting on the Giants for their dumbassery letting Saquon walk and
signing Daniel Jones to.
We've got lots of
contract.
They have their first number one in franchise history, though. I don't know if you just saw.
I just saw that, Malik.
Yeah.
I pictured Malik Neighbors having to call up the family. They're like, "Hey, you can have it, but you got to make the phone call." Just what do you even say?
I feel like they never. The Giants had always had enough talent that they never felt like they needed to bestow the number one on anybody. And then Malik Neighbors showed up, and everybody realized that he is number one, and every other Giants player is a raging number two. Because that's where they are.
Because that's where they
just seven numbers.
Music.
So we will be talking a bunch of AFC East guys. We'll be talking Bills. We'll be talking Patriots. We won't be talking Jets, although I'm sure we'll reference them occasionally because Jeremy's. That's your baby. We can't take that from you. The Jets are like my little pet project. I do enjoy being on Zoom calls with them where they open up for questions, and then my mouth opens and people go, "Who the hell is Fat Luke Combs?" Why do we let him in here? That's a dude with a mullet.
Credentials, please.
He sounds like he fell off the set of Deliverance. Who the hell is
who gave this guy credentials? How do you get those?
2 years later, it still entertains me. It still amuses me.
Absolutely worth it. And yeah, we'll be covering obviously most of, if not all of, the NFC North. I think most of.
Yes, you have all of the NFC North.
All of the
Lions,
NFC
the Vikings, the Pack. So basically, this is where things get a little.
It's confusing. A little dicey. Yeah, I know.
So the AFC North is not really the North. The AFC North should be the AFC Midwest.
Yes.
Because all of the AFC North teams are actually Midwestern teams. So those will be covered by another group that we will introduce, and we will all be friends. The beauty of this is that it gives us all very smart people that we can talk about sports with, and
lots of panels coming up.
Here's what I really want to do. I don't know if you watched our draft coverage.
Always.
When we met the CHGO guys at the combine, and they just rolled in like the big goobs at the locker room because they had like 47 guys. That's my ultimate vision, is that we all just show up from different parts of the country, and we have our teams and we have our connections, and it allows us all to live this dream. I got very lucky. We just found out yesterday it was my 8-year anniversary of doing radio was yesterday. I didn't know that. I had no clue. It's a super biased
we go back
stat, though. That's 8
years.
I feel like people saw that, he's been doing this for 8 years. Well, I did like 100 total shows in the first 4 years. And nobody knew who I was. I didn't have a key to the building, and I once got cussed out because somebody thought I was breaking into the building.
Much like the Jets Zoom calls.
Yes, it does. There does seem to be a static of no matter where I go, people think I don't necessarily belong where I am.
I always appreciated the humility, though, because I was a baby podcaster, and Jeremy was on a Facebook group, and he said, anybody has a show, I'll come on it. And you went on some horror awful shows.
I did. I remember I did one. I think one guy booked me solely because he had listened to my show and he wanted to yell at me.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
There was no audience. It wasn't live.
Oh no, it was literally just me and that dude. I mean, it could have been like a meeting in a hotel room. It just so happened that there were cameras and we put it online.
Absolutely, Welch.
One of these days, I'll write a book about that year, because somebody told me that would be a really good way to branch out and make their audience your audience, and all of the different stupid ass buzzwords that people use. I wound up. All right, so just I'll give you the abridged version. I wound up on. Do both of you like wrestling?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Harlem Heat?
Oh yeah.
Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Absolutely.
5 times.
I wound up on Stevie Ray. He has I think it's in Houston. It's either in Houston or it's somewhere in Texas.
Yeah.
I wound up on his radio show going back and forth with him about everything other than sports. And I remember thinking, how did I end up here? The agent that I had at that time wound up calling, asking if he could sleep on my couch. That's one of those that we're going to do a 30 for 30 on one day, because that was a fun year, but it did give me the relationship with Armchair, and that made all of the other just ridiculousness that I did that year.
We clicked. We talked shit about the Jets and bought fumble and all the other stuff, and had a good chat about football. And then I bullied my way onto your fantasy show when you needed a fill in. I think it was me and Parton jumped on, and I kind of bullied my way to stay there. So
you more than carry your weight on that show. The funny thing about fantasy is that when Tank and I started this, we really thought that was going to be the path. We did a lot of betting. We did a lot of fantasy. We did fantasy basketball. Believe it or not, we actually did talk about baseball. And then when COVID happened, that changed everything.
Yeah.
So if you go back on the iHeartRadio app and you listen to those old shows, you will hear a version of me that the voice sounds the same, but nothing that comes out of his mouth sounds like anything I would ever say.
It's the good old days. But now
we're first podcast you can go back to and be like, Jesus Christ, dude, what are you doing?
It's onward and upward, because now we're talking about taking a load off for you guys so that you can keep going on this tour, the Living the Dream tour. Gotta appreciate that. Kudos to you guys for getting that huge list of places that you're visiting. Where's next?
We're in Atlanta this weekend for Georgia Clemson. Then next weekend we're in Charlotte for Tennessee, NC State, and Tank and I, this is a low-key spoiler, are going to attempt. I cannot promise this is going to happen because that's a late game in Charlotte. I think we're going to drive from Charlotte to Atlanta to be with the Falcons for week 1.
Ooh.
So one of the things that we haven't been able to say with that tour is, yes, we put out the schedule.
Sure.
And it's a great parameter because a lot of those dates are going to stay the same. But as the college season wears on, there will be games that pop up that it makes more sense to go see. I'll go Tennessee and South Carolina than it makes to go see Clemson and Florida State, who just broke my heart.
Poor FSU. T's and P's FSU. Can't do it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you guys are going to do there. I'm super looking forward to see what Dubs and I come up with for our parameters for some North talk. Why don't we dive into a little bit? We had cut day coming up, or just passed, sorry. Patriots say goodbye to Bailey Zappi, which I thought was hilarious. And this is always the funny part. Dubs and I have a regular conversation that runs through the week, much like Jeremy and I do. And I was trying to figure out why there were so many people that were pumping the Joe Milton is the savior train, and they were the same people that were on the Bailey Zappi train.
Because you see nothing about Bailey Zappi now and everything about Joe Milton.
Same crowd of people. Absolutely not devastated. He went
into the last preseason game with under 50% completion rate, and people are still like, but he might start. No, he's not. Stop it. If he sees the field, it's to protect the integrity of Drake May.
Yes. Who they better not start. They did.
No, they can't. Not behind that offensive line. Not behind every third stringer from the Minnesota Vikings last year.
Well, you do have the report came out today that Gerard Mayo has decided who he's going to start, but he's not going to tell anybody until tomorrow.
I don't like Mayo in the press conference already.
We never had this problem with Bill.
No, it drives me crazy.
Bill never opened his mouth. That was the one.
Mayo keeps saying shit and then doing the opposite. And we're not even at the season yet.
Mayo likes to talk. He's a jibber jabber all over the place. And Bill was like, "Man, we're on to Cincinnati."
Love Gerard Mayo as a player. Not sure how I feel about Gerard Mayo as a coach, but I am not impressed.
Well, I mean, this is what you do. It's the overcorrection.
Right.
Yeah.
You had the gruff, old, grizzly, hooded, sleeve cut off Bill Belichick. So now you've got to have Johnny Rah-Rah.
You know what? It reminds me of early days Tomlin, though, because early days Tomlin would always talk, and he still gets mouthy sometimes when people start trying to chirp him. And he's got enough attitude, but he's been around long enough now that he knows when to keep his mouth kind of quiet and when he should say something. And I think Mayo will learn this lesson. The ones that stick around for more than 25 minutes tend to find a way to navigate the press, because that's half the battle with coaching anyway. It's scheming is a big part of it, but a lot of talk. You think Stephen Tao.
The over-under on Tao responding was like 3.5 seconds. Under any Mike Tomlin appreciation.
9-8 is I don't think the Steelers go there, but they just named Russell Wilson starter, and the first thing I saw was Justin Fields is the future, and I don't understand how either of them are gonna do anything there.
I don't like either guy. I like Justin Fields more than Russell Wilson, though.
Jeremy,
I hate them both. I'm out on that Steelers QB room. I'm way out.
I'm pretty sure I told Jeremy before Justin Fields got drafted that he was going to get himself killed, and then he got drafted and got himself.
Oh, I mean, Dave, you remember specifically what I said about Justin Fields coming out of. Basically, I saw Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud very similarly, but it was because they had all the talent in the world and they never developed.
Yeah,
because they didn't have to. I mean, I'm throwing to receivers that are so damn good that it really masks the fact that I can't read a defense. Where I screwed that up is that I didn't realize, well, CJ Stroud can. They're just not asking him to for whatever reason. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, I had already seen it, and so I started projecting. And, I learned my lesson. I have a lot of poop sandwiches to eat for things I said about CJ Stroud. But, I mean, this is a point where it's really a question of, do you want to have a colonoscopy or do you want to have a prostate examination? Because Justin Fields is the colonoscopy and Russell Wilson is a prostate exam.
Either way, something's going up your ass.
No doubt. It's either going in or coming out, and it ain't going to be pleasant either way.
No, I don't. I think this may be the end of the 9-8. I know Tomlin always finds a way to do it. That they'll win a bunch.
So good too.
They will absolutely find a way to win a couple of 9-8 games or a 9-7 victory, 3 field goals to a touchdown. They'll find a way to win ugly because that's what they do. But
I'm going to make a comparison that the two of you can. I would say once I say this, you're never going to unsee it. The 2024 version of the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to look a lot like the 2023 version of the New England Patriots. You are not what you used to be.
No.
You enjoyed being foghorn with the wooden board, and now you're the dog. And we're going to beat your ass if we get the opportunity to do it, and we're going to relish doing it.
Patriots over-under wins, by the way, 3.5. We'll take the under.
It's 4.5, so we're getting 3.5 at plus money.
Oh, I'll take under 3.5.
I thought it was going to go down after the Judon trade, but it didn't. Stayed at 4.5.
Judon was the funny thing to me is that Matthew Judon is one of those guys that you get to a certain point, and then you get the lay fan that never ever wants to see the decline. Yeah. When Atlanta made that trade, I'm not gonna lie to you, I laughed. I don't think another team in the NFL would have given up a 3rd-round pick for Matthew Judon.
There's a lot.
It's a lot for a guy that's that old, coming off the injury. I mean, look, this is what you should do. If you look at what New England kept, there are a couple guys that I didn't really understand. But other than that, you've got a lot of younger, let's see what we have. And the line, yeah, it might get somebody killed. With no Cole Strange, I don't really know who your 5 starters are going to be.
We don't either.
Mike Onwenu, and that's it.
Onwenu, David Andrews, and then you get into C.D. Sal and Vidarian Lowe way quicker than you want to.
They're both probably going to start, which is unfortunate.
Which is sad.
It's not great.
But, I mean, look, this is where having a draft nerd does make it a little better. You have a lot of younger guys.
Yeah. Christian Gonzalez.
Christian Gonzalez is on the really high side of that. I will give you a couple names. One that you probably figured out in the preseason, Marcellus Dial.
Yep.
I was super high on him coming out of South Carolina. Nobody really talked about him because he was never the best corner on his own team.
I didn't hear his name not one time in the draft process, and then we got him, and I was like,
I said it. I can attest that I said it multiple times. And I must admit why I said it. Walter Cherepinski of Walter Football is a friend of mine, and I honest to God think he did everything short of put on his knee pads and grab a tube of chapstick because he mentioned his name in every call we did. It got to a point of is he paying you to tell us all the time? And so I went back and watched the tape. I saw him against the Panthers, and I saw a lot of what I remembered from tape. You also got a guy in the waiver claims today. We talked about this for about 13 seconds because most of them just don't mean anything.
Yeah.
You added 2 throw a dart at a wall offensive tackles. The one that you should be excited about is Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson was an absolute D-O-double-G dog coming out of Missouri State that a lot of teams liked. He just didn't really develop the way you would want him to. He was with the Colts, I think. I think that's where he was. And he didn't fit the scheme at all. But I think he'll come into New England. He could be a starter. And I know that sounds like I'm overreacting. I really don't think I am.
I'm happy to see them adding tackle because it shows, for once, that the organization is understanding a need and actually targeting the need. For like a dozen years, we were like, Tom Brady could use a number one wide receiver. They were like, best we can do is Wes Welker. Best we can do is Danny Amendola. He killed us in Miami one year, and then they were like, never mind, we're going to take that guy. It was literally the next season. He went off. He had like 13 catches and like 150 yards and 2 tutties, and then they were like, next season, they're like, we'll take that guy. So it's nice to see the Patriots. Nice to see the Patriots actually doing something to try and further the narrative.
That's what Bill did with Jonnu Smith too. Jonnu Smith was fantastic against us. He's like, I need that guy.
Yeah.
But he did nothing with him.
How well did that work? He's still in the league.
Not for long.
He's in Miami. He's a starting tight end in Miami.
Is he actually?
Mm-hmm. Like, mainly because the other two, if you could name me either
I was just like, actually, I don't know who they have.
You got the Legend of Durham Smythe, which feels like a movie that Will Smith would star in for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And Julian Hill, who's a guy that's from pretty close to where I'm sitting right now. Campbell. I do the draft pretty deeply every year, and I get a list at cut down day of all the positions where teams had cut things that didn't make sense. Miami had cut their long snapper, and Miami put out a thing that said, well, Julian Hill played long snapper at Campbell for half a year. And I went, things I didn't know for 400, Alex.
Also in the AFC East, our rivals, circle them wagons. Buffalo has a make or break year after offloading Diggs, getting away from the Divas.
It's like the last 3 years have been make or break years for the Bills.
Welch says we made Devontae Parker retire. Devontae Parker made Devontae Parker retire. That wasn't us. Jeremy's going to have to find a new drug of choice. I'm pretty sure it'll be Devin Achan or something.
Dude, Devontae Parker was the stripper girlfriend of the NFL. Like, it didn't matter how many times she lied to you. It didn't matter. She could just blow hot fuzz in your ear, and you would start slinging hundies. She was so hot. But good Lord, it was always, hey, we're going to go to dinner. And then you sit in a nice restaurant by yourself going, no, she's coming. I promise. She's coming. She's coming.
No, Devontae Parker's entire contract was paid out in crumpled $1 bills.
No doubt. That he took out of business gentlemen's mouths at the state while Whitesnake played in the background.
100%. So this version of the Bills is not pass heavy, or is it pass heavy with Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, and Kincaid and Knox at dual tight end, and the legend of Curtis Samuel trying to pull on somewhere, and Khalil Shakir, who is good for about 4 games a year. What are we seeing out of this Buffalo group for once? Are we going to see finally a James Cook run heavy, protect Josh Allen and don't ask him to play hero ball, or are they officially cooked in an AFC that is got a Joe Burrow healthy in Cincinnati, has a Lamar Jackson healthy with a real run game in Baltimore, with Kansas City not being any worse, reclamation project with Juju, which I think is LOL because he's going to end up being real good with Kansas City for no reason. Like about week 8, everybody's going to get hurt and they'll bring back Kadarius Toney and we'll all laugh and he'll catch a 80-yard touchdown pass. Is this it for Buffalo? Is this the make or break year?
Well, I mean, I'm going to ask a question, and it's going to sound like I'm being a hater. Yeah. One of the ways that I look at teams and just, we go through the win-loss records every year. And when I go down the schedule, the number one question that I ask is, how do you win? What do you do that promotes winning football? And so I ask you both, when you look at this 53-man roster for the Buffalo Bills, what do they do well?
Josh
Allen. They Josh Allen real well.
Okay.
That's about it.
And Josh Allen he's a really good NFL quarterback. PFF had him rated as the number 1 quarterback in the league last year.
Yep.
Outside of that, he can't throw it to himself.
He can't.
Their receiving core looks like an expansion roster. You got the guy that we took in our first draft because Daddy Roger gave us more picks. So we got Keon Coleman. We pulled Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins and Marquez Valdez-Scantling off the trash heap. Yep. And Khalil Shakir was a guy that a team waived, and we tried to sneak him. We snuck him onto our roster.
I don't like any of it. He had trouble.
Like the tight ends, that's it.
Josh Allen had trouble not turning the ball over. That was a big problem with Josh Allen. Bills fans are relentless about saying, well, he's still better than everybody else. But I got to be honest with you, that defense, when it's in the shape that it's in, is broken. They had the skeleton of Von Miller trying to make something happen, couldn't do it. And I mean, a bunch of their guys are either retired or on other teams now. Where like we've seen a kind of an exodus of sorts. And to me, I look at it and go, Jets are better if Aaron is 50% of what he was. I mean, he has to be 50% better than Mike White and whatever you rolled out at quarterback.
The MILF
like he
hunter.
doesn't. Aaron doesn't have to be good to be like a great New York Jet team. To get to 11 wins as a Jet quarterback, he has to be downright average, and the offense will work for him, and that defense is still great. And Miami, despite their choke job last year, still has to. That's exactly it. Tao with the ding here. It has to be Broncos Peyton Manning. Doesn't have to be. He could be broken back, stand in the pocket, and feed it out. He could retire after that, win a chip. I just don't see it with Buffalo. I don't see how they get over the AFC East hump, and then let alone over the rest of the AFC, where like 5 teams are better.
In the past few years, when they had that injury bug where every other defense just falls apart, they have nobody playing in the secondary. They've been, at least they had better players, more stars to make up for losses. And Josh Allen plays hero ball, and they somehow will their way into second round of the playoffs. But Diggs is gone. Miller's a year older. Tre'Davious White has the knees of a 95-year-old man. Like
Tre'Davious White's in LA.
Yeah, he gone.
Oh, that's right. He did. He gone. So even proving to my point more, like I just don't think their roster is good enough to make up for all the injuries and the shortcomings that they have.
The thing nobody wants to talk about with Buffalo is if you look after the London game last year. All right, so they played Jacksonville in London. After that, they had that god-awful gross fest against the Giants. Josh Allen was bad.
Yep.
They lost in Foxborough. Josh Allen's probably the only reason they were even in that game.
Yep.
They beat up on Tampa Bay, and Josh looked great. Then he went through a stretch for 6 weeks where he was mediocre to bad. And that led to a loss to the Bengals, a loss to the Broncos. They beat the hell out of the Jets because the Jets couldn't stop turning the ball over. They lost in overtime to Philadelphia in a game that was absolutely pathetically winnable. And Josh Allen was special. Yeah. Then they had wins over Kansas City and Dallas because of the defense.
Yeah.
You can't count on the defense anymore. Because now you have – I mean, I think the starting D-line is fine.
Sure.
I get to the 2 deep, and it's fine. You have decent depth. But just compare what the Buffalo Bills are putting on the field to the New York Jets. All right, the best edge rusher for the Buffalo Bills is Greg Rousseau.
Yep.
Is Greg Rousseau better than Hassan Reddick?
No.
Nope.
No.
Not
Von Miller's probably the second best edge guy. Is Von Miller at this point better than Jermaine Johnson?
No.
No. DeQuan Jones or Ed Oliver, are they better than Quinn and Williams? No. That's how you can build a roster. The Jets go legit 10 deep with guys that could start on any roster in the NFL because thank God Leaky Fotu went on IR and I didn't have to yell his name every time he went on the field.
Yeah.
The Jets are doing you better than you're doing you. And now you have to live on those games like Josh Allen had against the LA Chargers, against the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you should see a trend in what I just said. They lost 3 of the 4 games that I just said. Yeah. That was with a markedly better receiving core with Stephon Diggs.
Better receiving core, better defense.
I think markedly better defense. You've got an aging D-line that gets obviously a year older every year, and they're aging in dog years. I don't think Buffalo's a good team.
No.
James
Cook clearly the
a lot of bad teams last year. He had 179 yards against the Cowboys. If I remember correctly, I think he had 3 or 4 15-plus yard runs in that game. Outside of that, he didn't rush for more than 123 yards in any game all year. He lived at 3 to 3.5 yards a carry. That's not going to sustain you.
No, the team itself kind of fell apart. 2 years ago was their window, and then last year they were scrambling to try to make it back, and they didn't get there. They got beat by the better guy, and that's all there is to it. And welcome to football. The agony of being a Bills fan. You get another. Now you have another quarterback who's got a potential for run in the AFC. The AFC East, you're the 3 right now. I mean, you're better than the Patriots, but
that's not hard to do.
But for how long?
There's several college teams.
But for how long?
Patriots are on for their money.
You're one draft away from the Patriots surpassing you again at this point. You're one draft away. Patriots get a little bit better, picking another high pick, actually doing it right, and you're in trouble again. I don't see it. I don't see it. And then if we move over to, if we can, the NFC North, we got some interesting kind of storylines there. Obviously, the Vikings. I don't know what you're going to do there. JJ goes down. End of season. Everybody's like, I don't know. The Packers making the weird trade. I don't understand the trade. And then we've got Detroit, who looks like they're ready to run it back. I love the Lions. I don't know where you want to go first. We want to talk Lions first. We want to talk Packers making odd moves. We want to talk Vikings injury prone forever.
I'm cool with let's go to the Vikings. It's Sam Darnold season. JJ McCarthy's down. Kirk Cousins is out. I think a pretty consensus pick to be dead last in this division. He does, and all you have to do is get the ball to Justin Jefferson. The problem is there's nothing else outside of that. I mean, I like kid from Florida State, Jordan Addison. I can remember his name for a second. But outside of that, the offense is pretty bad. Your line was pretty bad last year. And if Sam Darnold goes down, like what are we going to do? Also, if Sam Darnold's good, is it the Kevin O'Connell system? Like, made Josh Dobbs look serviceable last year. Kirk Cousins obviously has been fantastic there. Sam Darnold goes for 36 touchdowns and 5 picks. Kevin O'Connell's just an absolute genius. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Vikings. I don't think they're going to do anything this year. I think Dan Orlovsky was like, yeah, they could win this division. Absolutely not. They cannot. No chance. Hell would have to freeze over twice.
Winning the division is a bit much. I do think there is a possibility that this team is better than people think.
Is this a Sam Darnold love?
I love Sam Darnold. I've been unabashed about it. I don't think the kid's ever really had a snowball's chance in Atlanta. That Jet team was awful. I got to see Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield side by side at Panthers camp, and I'll go ahead and tell you, Sam Darnold was better. And it wasn't even close. It wasn't even in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield's getting $35 to $40 million a year, and Sam Darnold can't throw to Justin Jefferson. I can't wrap my brain around that. You mix in Jordan Addison. They don't have a lot outside of that, but I think Aaron Jones is a much bigger pickup than people think.
So so Jones was always the heavy back, wasn't he? We had a 2-back system. He's not used to the full workload. He would always work half the year. And if are you gonna ask him for what 200 carries? Is that what we're looking for out of him?
I did this stat when we were talking about fantasy football things. In Aaron Jones' career, he's only gone over 213 carries one time. This is his 8th season in the NFL.
Yeah.
He catches passes.
Yes.
He didn't last year to the same level that he had over the last handful of years. I easily could see a path that he goes over that 213. I had him at 225, and I had him with 50 receptions, which is why I love him for fantasy football. I think he has about the safest floor of any running back in the league.
Ty Chandler
also never averaged less than 4.6 yards a carry.
Oh, he's a good back, man.
And that was with some gnarly Green Bay Packer lines.
100%.
Every single player hurt on those Green Bay lines.
I'm just curious
where David Bakhtiari.
So Ty Chandler is the other back there.
Yes.
Pass catching back, kind of possession. Not really. I don't really consider him like a big bruiser. He's not your 3-down guy or 3rd-down guy.
No, Chandler's more the thumper between the tackles, and I think you see Aaron Jones. He's the we can sneak a couple snaps on 1st and 2nd down, then we'll put in Aaron Jones. And that's only when snap count's becoming a thing. I think Aaron Jones is going to control 70-75% of the snap count.
Yeah.
My problem with Minnesota is not really the offense. It's you spent a lot of money to improve that defense, and it still sucks.
Yeah.
It's a patchwork. And I look at who they play. I feel like everybody fixates on the defense or on the offense. Excuse me. They start at the Giants.
Yes.
You're going to beat the bejesus out of the New York Giants.
Probably.
You then go 4 in a row, San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, and the Jets. Those are 4 games that you might get beat by 30 in all 4 of them.
Then it's your bye, and then you've got the Lions.
You got the Lions coming off a bye, and then you play the Rams. But then look at what the schedule does after that. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Chicago.
Yeah.
Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit. That's 10 games where I honestly think you could legitimately win 7 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's totally feasible. It depends on what they're going to do in the end of the year. I think Minnesota is going to be they're going to be a middling team. I don't know if they know what they're going to be right off the bat. If anybody can get the ball to Jefferson, it's going to make a difference. You don't need to worry about double coverage with that guy as long as he's healthy. He's shown that he can catch the ball in traffic. There's no issue with Jefferson's not a guy that you need to worry about. He's got to fight for it and he's not going to get the ball. Like, just get it in his stratosphere, and the guy is.
I'm worried about with him is his hamstring. That's it.
That's it. But otherwise, he is fine. I think that he'll be fine.
Minnesota strikes me as that team when we get to December and we get that stereotypical graphic of still in the hunt. Minnesota's that team that's going to be hanging on to still in the hunt until week 17. There's technically a path if the Chicago Bears got abducted by aliens, and 2 other teams in the NFC switched planes and they both wound up in Calcutta, then technically Minnesota could make the playoffs. It's not going to happen, but it could. I don't think they're as bad as everybody else because I don't think there's that big of a difference between Sam Darnold. To me, was the better quarterback for this team for this year.
Yes. But they went out and you get it. They drafted JJ. They wanted him to come in and be new Brady. He's the Michigan kid. Got to bring him in, and he's going to do.
Who threw 10 times a game.
You do whatever, but let's move to Green Bay. Made a weird trade. At least is weird in my eyes. Gone out and got themselves a Malik Willis. I don't get it. They also lost, obviously, Aaron Jones. We just talked about. A.J. Dillon's still there, but he's on the IR. So the running back room is Josh Jacobs, who has a whole lot of miles. He got a whole lot of carries under his belt.
One of the most overrated players in the league to me. I'm not a Josh Jacobs guy.
I have no problem with Josh Jacobs. I think
he led the league in rushing on like 300 something carries, and everyone was like, "He's the best running back in the league."
I mean, he had 340 carries in 2023. He had 233 last year. Only 13 games. Hasn't always played 17 games. Usually he's out. But I mean, he's got 3,000-yard seasons. I think he's a fine back. I don't think that he's going to do anything crazy. The other back is Emmanuel Wilson. Raise your hand if you had Emmanuel Wilson as the 2 for running backs. And then that wide receiver room, you were talking about this on yesterday's show, Jeremy. That wide receiver room has got some question marks. It's also got some interesting guys. Talking about Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed and where everybody lands. What do you make of the makeup of this Packers team right now? Because I, for one, had the Packers regressing a little bit. I think people are real high on Jordan Love. I think that he's probably going to continue to play fine. But I think he got helped a little bit last year, and I don't think the run game is there to support him the way he needs it anymore.
Well, I mean, to me, just from a sheer talent standpoint, Josh Jacobs is a step back from Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Jones is more talented in a one-game scenario than Josh Jacobs is. Josh Jacobs is volume. You're going to see Marshawn Lloyd pick up that A.J. Dillon role. The receiving core, to me, is really good and really deep. I could make the argument from 1 to 4, Green Bay has the best receiving core in the league if we treated each individual player like its own check mark. Dontavian Wicks is the best fourth receiver in the NFL, and it's not all that close. You then look at they've got 2 legit tight ends in Musgrave and Kraft that they drafted last year.
I like both of them a lot.
Yep.
I do too.
Stashed in dynasty leagues everywhere.
And then the thing that I haven't really heard anybody talk about is that the offensive line is actually pretty healthy. They're going to slide Jordan Morgan in at right guard from the best of what I understand. The one thing that worries me is Rasheed Walker, who's playing left tackle, and he bounced around the league like a ping pong ball. But he did seem to at least he seems to have found a home because Green Bay has not felt the urge to do anything else.
Yeah.
He's just, he's fine. He's not great. He's not awful. He's fine. I do agree with you, Dave, that the regression with Jordan Love is coming. But it's not to me, it's not so much a regression. He's already told you who he is.
Yes.
Everybody seems to forget that this was a team that was sitting at 2-5 last year through 8 weeks. And then you beat the Rams, the Chargers, the Lions and the Chiefs, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Bears. And that's what everybody is losing their shit about. And he couldn't beat the New York Giants. He couldn't beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He couldn't beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he was awful.
It's that horrible primetime game against the Raiders, like earlier in the year, too. Like
that was on that was Monday Night Football.
Monday. Yeah, that game was horrific. That was the
he was
that was when he couldn't do the play. He couldn't even sell a play action. He was like 3 yards away from the running back. It's like,
that was in week 5. And people think, oh, well, he progressed and he got more comfortable. And no, the competition got worse. I'm not saying he's bad. He's better than I thought he would be.
Agreed.
And the benefit for the Packers is you play in the NFC. So you do get a date just from week 1 to their bye week. They play Jalen Hurts. They play C.J. Stroud. They play Jared Goff. Other than that, they play Anthony Richardson, who's a huge question mark. Will Levis, who's a huge question mark. Sam Darnold, who's a huge question mark. Matthew Stafford, who has injury issues. Kyler Murray, who I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but I think it will be massively improved. And Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
He's the better quarterback in the vast majority of those games, especially if Stafford were to get hurt or anything like that. And we're talking about Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. I don't love it. No pun intended. The guy is he is the okayest quarterback that ever did NFC, in my opinion. Like when you needed him to come up big, he isn't there. And I think that tells you everything about a quarterback. When you look at the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen play league wide throughout our entire viewing history of football, the guys that have always been noted greats always show up in the big moment, and beating up on little teams didn't get you anywhere. Phillip Rivers could beat a little team, no problem. Never got the big job done though.
Phillip Rivers to me is a really good comp on Jordan Love.
He'll win you a bunch of games, and he'll get a whole bunch of stats. And if he ever finds himself a LaDainian Tomlinson, he'll have a great, great compliment. But like, I don't see it going the way that the money that they just gave him is going either. Also, why we trade for Malik Willis? Can you explain that to me?
Nobody wants Malik Willis.
Because Sean Clifford was that bad.
Yeah,
he was that bad. And Michael Pratt, I was shocked they outright cut him. I do think he's going to end up back on the practice squad. I haven't seen that yet. Michael Pratt's a stereotypical. Green Bay's done this a lot, going all the way back to Ron Wolf. They just draft a guy that's really smart, and then they just get him really comfortable. He reminds me a lot of Matt Hasselbeck.
Like that.
I think they looked at Clifford and Pratt and went, hey, if anything happens to Jordan Love, we're screwed. And now, that didn't change when you added Malik Willis. It's just a different name that you're screwed by.
He can run. Mostly sideways, but he can run. He goes left to right real fast.
Real quickly.
The week I was down there with the Titans, I will say this. Malik Willis made Mason, or I should say it's the other way. Mason Rudolph made Malik Willis look really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Mason Rudolph had his brains bashed in with a helmet, though.
Mason Rudolph is horror awful.
Yeah, he is. We've also got the Detroit Lions. Really were on the doorstep of doing something special last season, but Big Nut Dan got in his own way. Are we going to see something similar this season? Lions didn't get any worse. I think that we'll see more. I mean, listen, I know that Jeremy is the president of the Amon-Ra St. Brown fan club.
Made so much money last year.
He made everyone a ton of money.
So much money.
What up, Amon-Ra?
We do appreciate you. That's what we appreciate about you. And I don't think that they're getting any worse. We got rookies that are probably going to take a step. I think that we're seeing, obviously, Laporta's great. I think we'll see more Jahmyr Gibbs doing flashy things. Is Detroit like the third best team in the NFC right now?
I think they're the best team in the NFC.
Straight up best? Straight
up. Because they shored up so many of the issues that they had. DJ Reader fixes a problem that they had.
Big time.
I feel like they threw a lot against the wall to see what sticks at corner. And now you've got three brand new starters with Carlton Davis on one side, Terrion Arnold on the other, and Amik Robertson out of the slot. This team is improved. The other thing that I look at with Detroit, how many games do you actually think they're going to be a dog in this year?
I was just looking at their schedule.
There's not one that you could even convince me of until November.
Agreed.
They go at the Packers, at the Texans. I'm not sure they will be a dog in any other game all year except at the 49ers.
You think they'll be dogs in the Texans game?
I do, but I'm also, how do I put this judiciously? I'm not realistic about the Houston Texans because if the Houston Texans win a Super Bowl, I am going to retire and hang out with my new friends in some Caribbean island where I buy a house and just retire.
Aruba, Jamaica.
I don't have a ton of faith in that. I think that if they're going to be, they'll be dogs, but they won't be big dogs. It's not like they're going to be like 10-point dogs. They'll be plus 3.5. Yeah,
I'd say it's 3. And if it was in Detroit, that'd be a favorite.
Yeah.
To me,
it's not going to be much.
I think we're on a collision course for Houston Texans, Detroit Lions Super Bowl for 2 very specific reasons. I think every team in the NFC outside of the Philadelphia Eagles regressed. After meeting Nick Sirianni, I cannot put faith in that meatball to do anything but disappoint me. Kansas City cannot go to the Super Bowl every single year. Even New England in the heyday didn't go every single year.
Nope.
This feels like the most vulnerable they have been offensively.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who outside of Travis Kelce, I don't know who Pat can count on. And the fact they brought in Juju tells me that I'm way more accurate than I thought I was. Because that's it. That was his little safety blanket out of the slot.
Yep, 100%.
And that tells me they got a young kid in Xavier Worthy that, he's real fast. Unfortunately, he has 10 thumbs and he's allergic to catching passes deep.
Tyquan Thornton is also fast.
Yep. I'll be honest with you. There's way more Tyquan Thornton in Xavier Worthy than there is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, there is. Everybody wants the fast guy until they ask him to catch a ball.
We're at that time of year where Patriots fans are like, Tyquan Thornton looking pretty good in camp. It's just not going to happen. Third straight year.
Shut up and drink your Dunkin'. We're not getting into this again.
It was fun for the first 2 weeks of the first season. That was it.
Yeah. I agree. I think that the Lions are definitely in consideration. I don't see how they're any to me, we're beyond the same old Lions bullshit narrative. At this point, they've proven they're a talented team. Their defense has improved. The offense is still good. I think the most important thing they need is a little bit, just a skosh of humility from old kneecap biter. I think you just gotta you gotta really just know when to fold him here. And sometimes he doesn't, and it's killed him. It killed him in that playoff game.
Well, I mean, you got to remember he's got two. The 2 guys he's got as his coordinators were both first-time guys when he brought them in.
Yeah,
this is both of their 3rd year running those systems. One of them's a guy that we know quite well from here in Asheville, Ben Johnson. And I'm not sure that they're not both NFL head coaches next year.
Yeah,
it feels like a perfect storm in Detroit
this year.
Let's say it again.
I thought Johnson was going to go this year, but I get why he's not, because they're that close and you could end up winning a Super Bowl with the team that you started with.
That narrative that he asked for $15 million a year from the Washington Commanders is top 5 stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, as I don't know Ben as well as some people around I Heart Asheville do. I know him well enough, and I played golf with his dad pretty recently. One of my best friends DJ'd his wedding, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
Ben is not the I came in asking for a shitload of money. Ben is the I want to know from the top down, am I going to be supported as a football guy? And when the answer to that was no, he went, okay, back to Detroit I go.
Yeah.
So the reason he wasn't interested in the Panthers is because there were things that he didn't like. And there's a reason he really showed no interest in that job.
Does it rhyme with Avid Pepper?
It might. I was today years old when I found out.
Nor deny.
I was today years old when I found out that the admin for the Carolina Panthers is Nicole Tepper. I did not know that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Math checks out on that one.
Nepotism at its finest. Is what it is.
I'll be honest with you, I love Dan Morgan, and there are so many things in that front office that I like. And then I keep coming back to the why are we not learning these lessons? And it's her being the admin's one thing. If you pull up front office of the Carolina Panthers, you get David Tepper at the top of the page, and Nicole Tepper is 2, and Dan Morgan doesn't show up on the first screen. That should tell you a lot because I can't get in trouble. All I said was facts. Everything I just said is a stone cold fact.
Yeah.
You can deduce a lot from there.
Yeah, you can figure. You can read between the lines. Last team I want to talk about before we get into a Stone story and get out of here. Chicago Bears, obviously, all the hype in the world. Bears. I don't wish Caleb Williams to fail, but I have seen so many Bears fans tell me that he is going to be a 4,000-yard passer, and he's going to this season he's just going to break all the barriers and crash through and really crush things. And I LOL at that because, and I'm sure, Jeremy, you know this trivia. How many rookie 4,000-yard passers have we had all time?
2?
It's 5.
Oh, is it 5? Okay.
It's 5. Stroud is the most recent.
I knew Stroud.
Andrew Luck was on there. I think there was a couple other guys that were on there. I forgot. I don't have the list in front of me, but it was it's 5 guys. It's 5. And we're pretending like it's a huge number, like that. It just everybody gets. I think we're so used to a passing league now that everybody just assumes 4,000 yards.
Jameis, Cam, Justin Herbert, Luck, and CJ Stroud.
There it is.
Shout out Jameis.
So it's like it's not a huge list.
You can throw for 4,000 yards and not be a good NFL quarterback.
Also true.
Sam Howell threw for 39.46 last year, for what that's worth.
Yes.
Had he not been sat down against the Jets, he would have hit 4,000 yards.
Yep.
It just doesn't mean what people. It doesn't mean what people think it does. Baker Mayfield threw for 4,000 yards last year.
It's not a measuring stick, but they want it to be. I still don't see. I mean, Welch asked, "Did the Bears take number 2 in the division? Are we buying the midway hype?"
I think that game between the Packers and the Bears later in the season, I think it's in first or second week of January. I think that will probably be for second in the division. It's at Lambeau, and I don't think the Bears are going to win that game.
Oh boy. Sorry, I just saw a story. We'll touch on it in a second. I do think the Bears end up as the 3 in the NFC North. I think Minnesota is pretty close to them. I think they're pretty close to Green Bay, and none of them are really sniffing Detroit.
No, Detroit's a runaway here.
Agreed. They're my number 2 in the NFC. I still think the Niners are just above them, but it's real close. An injury or two swings it.
It's ugly. It's ugly for sure. Not that I want to keep everybody forever, but I do want to get to a usual segment. We gotta give the people what they want. It's time for a Stone Stories.
All right. We're going to head to Colorado.
It's not Ohio or Florida.
No, it's not. This might be new. I don't know if we've been to Colorado yet. August 23rd, a man was on a mountain retreat with coworkers. Sounds pretty miserable. 15 people hiking Mount Shivano, a 14,000-foot mountain in the Southern Rockies. All 15 coworkers were participating in an 11-mile hike that was supposed to take about 9 hours to complete. Also sounds miserable. How quick are your calves burning into that? It's a mountain hike. Yeah, a 9-hour hike up. Fuck that. Every part of it. Fuck that.
I would literally be right. I'd be filling out job resumes at the hole of mile 1.
I'm gonna park it here. I'm gonna keep working on my resume, and you guys can get me on the way back. Man summited the mountain around 11:30 a.m. Slightly later than the rest of his coworkers. He then became disoriented while descending because he had left a bunch of his shit along the trail to mark his way back, and his coworkers on the way down the mountain before him decided to pick up those things. They took away his trail markers. He goes off the trail. Panic ensues. 3:30 p.m. is the last time he contacted any of his coworkers. He gave them his location. Shortly after, a large storm came in with freezing rain and high winds. He lost cell phone signal. 9 p.m. They knew he was lost at 3 p.m. It took until 9 p.m. for them to actually alert anybody and be like, hey, this guy's lost. He didn't make it back down the mountain. It's now dark.
That's coworkers for you. That's coworkers, right? It's like, oh, where's that guy?
12 hours, 12-hour search, 9 a.m. the next morning, still no sign. They have a second search with like several rescue teams from around the state. He got enough cell service finally to make a call. He fell over 20 different times down this slope and eventually fell into a gully. And they had to bring him out with like a helicopter and rope to get him out. Fuck that. I'm quitting immediately. I'm suing the shit out of that company. And every single one of my coworkers from that can go fuck themselves. That's crazy. They took away my trail markers and left me to die. That guy had to have been the worst. Like, they definitely planned this. Without a doubt in my mind.
100%.
They're Jeremy, like, you know what would be good? You know how we can get rid of Jim? Take those trail markers on the way down.
Yeah, we'll let him get eaten. We'll let him get his keister hole eaten by a cougar. And not in the fun way.
Not in the... That's a different place. You do that in
Florida,
Atlanta.
for sure.
Yes.
Florida definitely does that.
That happens at the Spearmint Rhino. That's that's how that goes.
That's what I heard, at least. I haven't been. What's the worst work retreat you've had?
New band name.
Say that again. I heard both of you at the same time, but I didn't actually hear what either one of you said.
What's the worst work retreat you've had to go on?
Okay, so this is a little biased. I was the one that was picking the work retreats most of the time, so I've never necessarily done a bad one. I did have to go to a Christmas party with my first wife. She worked at a hotel, and I hated all the people that she worked with. And they had an open bar because there was a bar in the hotel that they closed down. And I got learn shit about yourself drunk and told every one of them how I felt. The story gets slightly better. You just got to fast forward in time a little bit. I then divorced her, met a girl at the Chili's down the street about 6 weeks later, and brought her back to that hotel for $1 million US. I could not tell you that girl's name. You can tell me her name was Tiffany or Tyler, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. I did remember thinking it was funny as hell.
That's great. That's a quality movie.
She was working the front desk that day, and the girl had her shoes in her hand. And I laughed a lot. I still laugh about that. That was 15 years ago. I still laugh about that.
I had to go to also a Christmas party. Christmas parties are the worst. Just with a bunch of people I didn't like, and no music, no food, just mingling. It was a bar, but I was driving, so no drinks, and just had to mingle. Also with my ex-wife, and it was miserable, and couldn't wait to be done with it. So I literally said, "Can we draw the prizes? I want to get out of here."
I think I'd rather be summiting this mountain with no way of getting home, falling 20 times down a fucking gully.
Just
bodies. That sounds miserable.
Yeah, it was
mingling with people you hate is the worst thing.
Yeah, it was pretty miserable.
I mean, I can answer for Tank. He's not here, but his worst work retreat was going to the 2024 NFL Combine and almost getting smacked by a city bus, having to be saved by Deuce Staley and Darren Sproles. One of those who was doing some straight up dog behavior, much like what I just said. That will be in my book that will be released upon my death.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I'll also tell you, and Darren Sproles will make like great like 90s tag team.
No doubt. Oh, and they were like the coolest guys ever too. We had a great time. I don't know that I've ever told the other side of that story. Do you know who Keith Armstrong is?
No.
So
was he in the NBA?
No, he's a very long time special teams coordinator in the NFL. So he has been a special teams coordinator in the NFL every year since 1997. He was with the Bears, then he was with the Dolphins, the Falcons, and now he's with the Bucks.
Yep.
I have never met Keith Armstrong before the NFL Combine. That was news to him. I do not know who he thought I was. But I wound up doing shots with the coaching staff of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He picked me up off the ground. I am 6'5". I weigh roughly 300 pounds. He picked me up like a small child.
That's my boss is a massive Bucks fan. I cannot wait to tell him that.
Yeah, it was. And he kept asking me about if I was wearing a Florida State pullover, and he kept asking me if I was still at Florida State. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I need to go through the ginges that we've had on the staff because I can't figure out who you think I am.
Amazing.
I have his cell phone number. I could call him right now, and I guarantee you I would tell him my name, and he would have not a damn clue who I am.
I don't know.
Because he thought my name was something way different than that.
You just roll with it at that point, though.
No doubt.
You just roll with it.
Dude, Tequila showed up, and I went, hey, could somebody tell me what my name's supposed to be? Because I feel like I need to know that information.
It's Scott. Is this for Scott? I'll take it. It's
Keith, bruh, could you tell me what you think my name is? Because I like they're all calling me Jeremy, and at some point I'm gonna say that that's probably not who you think I am. So
I'm having a good time. We'll keep doing tequila. I'll be whatever name you want to call me.
Boom. That was what Tank did in the corner, staring at Mike McDaniel, just going, "You're doing a great job, Coach. Doing a great job, Coach." He said that about 500 times.
Packer.
Meanwhile, Sean Payton and I were mean mugging each other in the bottom floor because he was trying to figure out why he knew me. I knew exactly why I knew him, and that was. I would kill to have a reality show follow us to all these things. Some of these things that I cannot tell people. It's so
hidden camera show.
Before Jeremy says something that'll get him into real trouble, I'll get everybody out of here. We did have a couple of news and notes. F1, we had a driver change. We give
no more America.
No more America in the F1. Thank you for your service, Logan Sargent. William said no thanks.
We'll see you in IndyCar ASAP, brother.
He will be making the transition. Next week, we're back on regularly scheduled. We'll do some baseball, some hockey, and then we will delve in, start talking maybe power rankings. Maybe we'll do a little bit of roster deep dive. But it is week one right after the Ocho. Wednesday is us, or not Ocho, sorry, Green North. I got to change that. I'm used to it. Wednesday, right after our show. Thursday, we have our first game of the season, NFL kickoff. Jeremy
snuck up so fast.
We might be doing something. Jagar?
Yeah, we're gonna do a fantasy show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just 30 minutes. We'll simulcast it across both. That's something that we're going to try to do, especially in the early going, because we would like the great North sports followers to follow us and ours vice versa, do all those things, cross promotion. I didn't get a degree, but the 4 classes that I actually half-ass paid attention to, West Virginia's proud.
We'll be doing so fantasy Tuesday, waiver wires, good stuff like that. You and I'll talk about Tuesday because I got to figure out schedule on that one. And then on Thursday, right before kick, I will have your DFS for your Thursday nights, for your long ass games. I don't know why people play those Thursday to Sunday ones, but sure. We'll also do the captain. We'll do the captain spot lineups, and we'll give you something there. And then, of course, Sundays, I am back with Jeremy and Tank on the Sportsocracy doing our Sunday fantasy kickoff. We'll figure out what time we're going to run that, but not this week. You got one more week off, and then it's nonstop. Jeremy and Tank on the road. We'll figure out how to do it, but we'll get it done.
7 days a week, just all the football. We've got DFS things. We got DraftKings things. Dave and I will be your vinegar strokes for Thursday Night Football. 20 minutes right there before I'm trying to find a way that we don't call it the pre-kick show because I'm going to make sexual references to that way too often. So we need a name of some other form for that.
If you got a name for it, put it in the chat.
Because I want to call it Sportsocracy Vinegar Strokes, and that's just, that to me that feels like the right call and the wrong call at the same time.
It's not doing wrong. This whole new rebranding. Our first show, Vinegar Strokes. Welcome to the show.
Canceled.
Mike,
26 minutes in.
Yo, LaGoya!
Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you coming on today to kick us off into the new direction. Looking forward to bringing all of the Northern football talk, plus your hockey and baseball. Still talk the wrestling, and don't worry, we'll still talk about the crazy parkours and the weird stuff. We'll still find it.
Wrestling on top of shipping containers in a Russian swamp.
Dubs is still going to bring you Stone stories. We're still going to give you all the flavor that you've been used to for us from Jump December last year. So we're still going to give you that. We're just adding in a lot more football talk. So Jeremy, appreciate you jumping on today.
Absolutely.
For Dubs, I am Armchair, and we will see you next week. Peace.